I'm not a wine you can sit. In case you don't know me, I'm Louis Scurdy. I've been here for last week or so, and I present a little homily when we celebrate in Holy Mass after the Gospel. So you're all on board now. Um, I'm not a wine connoisseur. I know what I like, I know what I don't like, but Jesus has given us an education using the wineskins as a metaphor of not putting new wine in old wineskins because they'll crack them, or old wine in the new wineskins. And you know what wineskins are? The actually piece of the cow that they would cut up and put a little top on top, and they would stick the wine in there and save it or carry it around with them. That's nothing to do with our homily today, though. Today's the feast of Saint Therese of Calcutta, and you know the background. Saint Therese was from Skopje and in Eastern Europe. Where was that? Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia. Okay, so that's where she's from geographically. But spiritually, where she was from was even more important. She was raised in a religious household in a very difficult political climate, and she decided to be a teacher. So she joined the Loreto Sisters, and the Loreto Sisters' main headquarters was in Ireland. She was educated there, and one of her first assignments was to educate the daughters of wealthy people from India, Calcutta specifically, and she was placed there as their educator, very popular. The girls who had her in this all-girls school remembered her well into the years after they graduated. They were at her canonization. And what they said about her was that she had a special gift that she didn't give them. One day, and Teresa tells us this story herself, she was in a very beautiful convent. The Loreto sisters were financially comfortable, so she was comfortable, the convent was comfortable, and it was surrounded by a wall, which is normal. And at night, she would look out her window and she would see people in the streets of Calcutta, poor beyond your imagination. That awful, awful, between disease, poverty, and politics. There's a threesome you want to keep away from. And she felt something. She felt something odd. So she contacted her superior and said, I want to work with those people out there. Now, you have to realize she's teaching the girls of educated and wealthy people from the embassy, from politics. And she wants to leave that because what she received a vocation within her vocation. She was already a religious, but she got another vocation to go out beyond the walls. And it wasn't easy at all. She had to get permissions from the bishop, priest, everybody. But she talks about this in her life. And in 1978, I was teaching at DePaul High School in Wayne, New Jersey. And for Lent, we made a collection. The kids were going to decide for whom the collection would be taken. And we had just finished as seniors studying the work of Mother Teresa in Calcutta. And one of the kids said, let's send it to Mother Teresa, working with the poor, what she called the poorest of the poor. I mean, people lying in the streets, some dead, some dying, starving, poverty in this very, very tight community. I mean, tight because it couldn't hold any more people. So she talks about having received that vision to work out there. So the kids knew that. The kids from the Paul High School knew that, and they said, "Okay, let's send it to them. Let's send it to Mother Teresa." They had a little inkling of her ministry because we studied her. So it was my job at the end of the collection, at the end of Lent, to put it all together and write a check out to Sisters Work, the Missionary Sisters of Charity. It sounds like an easy job. I thought, well, I'm not going to mail it to Calcutta. It's like $5,000. I don't know the system there. I don't know the postal system there. Let me try to get something directly to her. So I called one of her convents in Newark, New Jersey. And I told the sister who answered the phone, it was very challenging to hear her because I didn't understand her accent. And she picked up the phone. They said, "There's a priest on the phone for you." So she said, "Hello, Father. I am here in New York, in the Bronx." I said, "Oh, that's good." I said, "Can you give me the address of that convent? Because I'd like to send a check to Mother Teresa of Calcutta." And the woman in her very thick accent says, "Father, why don't you bring it?" So I said, "Oh, God, this girl does not understand what I'm saying. I don't understand what she's saying. She doesn't understand what I'm saying. That's my fault, my prejudice going on inside of me." And I said, "Sister, it's only $5,000, and I can't bring it." I'm thinking she's talking to Calcutta. "I can't bring it to Calcutta. It would cost that much money to get there." She says, "No, Father, I am here for 2 more weeks, and we are at the convent of St. Anthony of Padua in the Bronx." So then I said to myself, this girl knows too much about what I'm saying, but she doesn't put all the pieces together. So I said, "Sister, what is your name?" And she said, "It's She said, Sister Teresa." I said, "Oh, okay, sister." I said, "Do you understand? I want to send the money to Mother Teresa. I can't bring it." She says, "Father, I am visiting 2 more weeks. Bring it to me in the Bronx." Okay, now I'm getting crazy. I'm on the phone, and I'm in the office at a high school. Bells going off, people running in and out, and the phone is like in the second office. I put my hand. We used to use those phones like this, remember? I put my hand over the phone and I shouted, "I'm talking to Mother Teresa." Everybody stopped. Everybody stopped in their track. Everybody gathered around me. I said, "Sister," I said, "you're Mother Teresa, right?" "Yes, Father, I am Sister Teresa." She didn't take the title, so I'm Sister Teresa. And from there on, we worked out the details, and we took 2 vans of kids, about 20 kids and a few parents and a few faculty members, to the Bronx, to St. Anthony of Padua in the Bronx, where we met her. That was only the tip of the iceberg. She herself welcomed us at the door. See, this is what saints are made of. We almost can't understand. I can't understand it sometimes. She had a little ratty sweater over her outfit, over her habit. There were holes in the sleeves. And she says, "Come." I introduced myself. She says, "Come follow me." We followed her into a large room, like a conference room. And the kids sat all around the table. I said, "Oh my God, this is unbelievable." I mean, she wasn't a saint then, but we knew she was a saint. So she said, "Why did you make the collection?" To the kids, "Why did you make the collection? What do you want me to do with the money?" I couldn't believe it, how personal she was, and letting the kids know. And I'm in contact with a lot of these kids still. They're not kids anymore. And she wanted the kids to tell her what they collected for, what they were going to do with this money, the nuns are going to do with this money. And they all, told them to feed the poor and keep up your ministry and all that. And we were there like a half hour in the office. Things came to an end, and she said, "Would you like to pray before you leave?" So we all went to the chapel, and I took a seat in the pew. She knelt in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and she turned around and said, "Father, come kneel here." So I knelt next to her. Now, she's world famous, winner of awards, monies, prizes, material things for her poor ministry. And she turns to me and says, "Would you lead us in prayer?" Now, I don't have a humble bone in my body. At that moment, I was humbled for her to ask me to lead them in prayer, which I did. She walked us out to the front door, and as each kid walked by, she said, "Tell me his name, tell me her name." So I introduced them all. The last person online was the mother of the principal. She happened to come with us. She was about 80 years old, and she had a pair of rosaries in her hand, and she put them in front of Mother Teresa and said, "Mother Teresa, could you bless these?" Now I'm standing next to Mother Teresa, and she gets the woman's hand and goes like this: "Father will bless them." I don't know what your impression of that is, but it was earth-shatteringly humble for me to do that. To hear and realize why she became a saint. Because that was her personality. Not to be the star, not to be the center of attention, not even to accept gifts on her behalf, always for her poor, always for her ministry, always for her sisters, the missionary sisters of charity. Today we celebrate Mother Teresa of Calcutta, a saint.